example?
No, it's not worrisome.
Okay.
Chief Abiola came out at the end of January in 1993, and the primaries was in March, 2 months. Whosoever wants to be president of a country has been doing the job for 30, 40 years. Most times behind closed doors. When I came out, people thought, oh, I just woke up one day and said I want to be president. No. I had traversed the length and breadth of Nigeria. In 1981, Chief Abiola was frustrated out of MPN. And he gave the impression that he would never contest again. But what did he do? He went back and made sure that there was a fortification of his credentials, of his relationships with people. So by the time he came back 12 years later in 1993, he was fully prepared. Nobody could beat him. That's why Alhaji Bashir Tofa could not beat him. And the death of Alhaji Bashir Tofa, who just died a few days ago, is symbolic because it brings back the memory. Maybe God is sending us a message that go back to the Abiola template. So definitely, I left in 2011. Abiola, I said, left in 1981. He left MPN. He came back 12 years later in 1993. If I decide to come in 2023, it will be the same 12 years. Okay? 2011 to 23 is 12 years. Just like Abiola's 12 years of 1981 to 93. So God has a way of doing it then, and it will be 30th anniversary of the June 12 election. So I believe that God is sending a message to us. When I decide, you will be one of the first to know.
So when will that be?
I don't know. I'm in consultation. People are talking to me. I'm also talking to people. It's not something you have to understand the way Nigeria is configured. You can't just do it on your own. You must carry everybody along. From Maiduguri to Sokoto to Ilorin to Ibadan to Ijoland, everywhere you must talk to people. There are stakeholders. There are people I call the owners of Nigeria. You must talk to them.
Have you started that?
Oh yeah. As I said, I don't know how God did it. I doubt if there's any major stakeholder that I've not interacted with in the past. This is not just, there is none. You see, the owners of Nigeria, they are in layers. The first layer is the military wing. In the military wing, of course, you have some of the retired generals. You have Baba Obasanjo. You have General Ibrahim Babangida. You have General Absalami Abubakar. You have Lieutenant General Ali Gusso. Okay, General Mushishi just died. He was a member of that mafia. You know, so you have, of course, Lieutenant Theophilus Yakubu Danjuma. You have a few others. General Gawan is still alive. It's our father. You know, so we'll talk to everybody. Then you have the traditional platform, the Sultan of Sokoto, his co-chair, the Oni of Ife. You know, you speak to the Obi of Furniture, you speak to the Emirs, you speak to the Alafins, you speak to, you know. It's a lot of work.
But interestingly, most of the people you're talking about are people you.
That's what I'm saying, that there is no.
So what's left to
there
do?
is no family. You know, it's just formality. So you just tell them. Even before I declared for PDP, I called President Goodluck Jonathan as a mark of respect. That, sir, Mr. President, I'll be joining your party on Saturday, and I just would love to inform you. And he said, oh, Dele, well done. Thank you for telling me, you know. So it's formality. There is, I doubt if there is any family that Ovation has not touched amongst the major stakeholders. The other platform is the business class, the Dangotes, the Otedolas, the Mike Adenugas, the Jimovias, the Tony Elumelus, the Atedo Peter sides. You know, you have to, because they have about Wigways, Ike Mokwedes, you have to protect the economy. They have to be sure, is the economy safe in the hands of Dele Momodu? Would it be a reckless leader. But if you look at my life, Ovation is going to be 26 in April. Any business, just like yours, City People, Media Group, any business that has survived 25, 26 years, over a quarter of a century, there must be something you are doing right. Many businesses are falling along the way. Not because the people don't know what they are doing, but because of the vagaries of our system. So definitely in the next couple of weeks, it should be very clear to me the direction to go. But I can almost say that we must challenge the system. We must challenge the system. It cannot continue like this. Because I can see they're already repackaging all kinds of old stuff again. Are we so stupid that you cannot find anybody in their 50s, in their 60s, in their 40s who can do it? Why do we make a fetish of governance and make it look like rocket science? There's nothing to it. It's about managing people and resources. If I ask you, out of the 36 governors in Nigeria, how many of them do you know by name? I can bet my life you won't be able to get 50%. If I ask you what they did in their private capacity before they joined politics, I'm sure you will not know even up to 80%. You will not even know 20%. So why did God give me the opportunity to achieve all that I've achieved in my private capacity if I cannot use it to the benefit of my country? God will ask me in heaven, how many people achieved what you achieved? How many people met world leaders in their private capacity? How many people sat at dinner tables? How many people met Her Majesty the Queen? How many people met American presidents like you did? And then you allowed local champions to overrun your country. These are local champions. That's why Nigeria is not moving. That's why nobody respects us. See Dubai treating us, beating us black and blue. Our children are being treated like pariahs all over the world. It's because you don't have a respected and respectable leadership. When you do, there is no nation that will be able to toy with you. I remember in 2009, President Jonathan then was vice president, and he traveled to South Africa and was received in the afternoon by President Jacob Zuma in Pretoria. That same evening, I was in Pretoria, and I was received by the president at home. That's at night. So you see that you don't have to be in government before you can make certain things happen. And I told President Zuma that I wanted to contest presidential election, and he was very excited. He told me, he said, Nigeria is the big brother. That the day Nigeria gets it right, the whole of Africa will get it right. That never left my mind. That yes, this man was saying the truth. Everybody they've said it. I'm a good student of Kwame Nkrumah. I read all his books when I was in Ife. And I remember everything he said about Africa. I read Walter Rodney, how Europe underdeveloped Africa. But today is how Africa is underdeveloping Africa. And I read Pedagogy of the Oppressed by the Brazilian author Paulo Freire, where he says the oppressed people respect only one person, the oppressor. They love only one person, the oppressor. They fear only one person, the oppressor. And that's what is happening to us. Some people will come say, nobody can beat Tinubu, nobody can beat Atiku. If you ask them, say, you don't have money. Is money the criteria for running a country? Yeah, so I don't have money. I don't have Godfather, but I have God the Father. And I know that if they put me against any of the candidates, I will defeat them. I'm not boasting. I have done the work. The work is done. Look, from this phone, this is my iPhone. Everything I need for a presidential campaign is there already. They are in the clouds. If I lose the phone, they are there in the clouds. Almost 1 million pictures that will show what I've done in my life. Let anybody come out, even including those who have been in government all their lives. Let them come and show what they achieved with it. We must do something for our country, and I am ready.
I know you do a lot of things. Apart from the professional calling, also write a column consistently.
Yes, please.
Play politics. You do, how do you juggle all of these roles and you still meet all your deadlines?
Is the passion that I have for work and for achievement. I remember Chief Abiola used to say, hard work is prayer in action. And my mom used to tell me that too much work does not kill, it's lack of work that kills. I love what I'm doing. In fact, when a lot of people see me, they think I'm playing or fooling around. I mean, I gave you an appointment for today, here we are. I didn't miss it, I didn't give any excuse, because I knew this is very important. And I must respect you as a colleague and as a brother. You know, Nigerian politicians don't respect anybody. My appeal to PDP is, please, think outside the box. If you want to beat APC, think outside the box. Ignite a passion in the young ones. Find a candidate that the young ones can recognize as their own. A candidate whose message will resonate with the young ones. It is not possible for anybody in 2023 to play it's like you want to play Brazil in the game of soccer. You are playing Brazilian style. You will lose. So while the APC and co are still practicing their art of electioneering, we are going to be scientific. And we have the young guys, we have the geniuses from all over the world working with us. But it's for the party to open its mind and its eyes to the new reality, to know that there is a new generation they don't understand and they can't understand. And you must get those who can understand that generation. We must bring joy back to Nigeria. Our country right now is in pain, is in agony, is in anguish. We must bring joy back to our country. And we can do it. Obama, I tell people, Obama was a Kenyan when he became the president of America, practically. First generation American. How long did he stay in the Senate? And he became the president of the most powerful nation on earth. Donald Trump, there was nothing. I was one of those who said impossible. Donald Trump cannot defeat Hillary Clinton. But he rode on his popularity to power. I'm telling you, I wish I could have like a drone that follows me everywhere. You'll be amazed. I've been to over 60 countries on 5 continents. Everywhere I go, Mr. Dele, if I open my phone, you see people from different parts of the world taking pictures, talking to me. Oh, I follow you on Instagram, I follow you on Twitter, I follow you on Facebook. Oh, you are this, you are that. You know, yet they don't know our politicians. Most of those who are saying they want to be Nigerian politicians now, look, nobody knows them. They are local champions. If they walk on the street without their security, nobody will notice them. And yet you have people who have made it globally and nobody cares about them.
How did you get to this point?
Because they deliberately made sure they killed our education. Our people don't know their history. I was telling someone, I said when I got married in 1992, I was 32 years old. MK Abiola was the one who received my wife. I was 32. I didn't have ovation. At the age of 30, I became the highest paid editor in the whole of Nigeria. I also blame the media anyway. Because if you don't respect your own colleagues, nobody will respect you. The media will promote Atiku, who was customs officer. They will promote Nuhu Ribadu, who was a police officer. They will promote, when they call it, oh, he has no chance. If I was a lawyer, one guy that I love so much, that Ogusi, a prince of Ife, said Dele Momodu would have been double senior advocate of Nigeria by now. At 30, I was highest paid editor, and I'm now over 60. And yet, you don't think I've accomplished anything because I'm a journalist, because I look simple, because I'm not a governor. Let any governor, anybody sit in front of me and let's come and discuss Nigeria. Let him come and tell me what he has achieved in his state, and let me come and tell him what I've achieved globally, not in any state. And if he says he has experience, let him come and tell us the outcome of the experience. Or that's what Nigeria will say, oh, go and start from somewhere now so that we can see. Did Donald Trump start from somewhere? Did Abiola start from somewhere? What they did was to show their capacity in their private life. And people accorded them the respect based on that. And that's what we intend doing. If we miss the opportunity after 30 years, then it means we're going nowhere.
You've interacted with a few of the key members of the party, PDP, at the highest levels. Do you think the bunch of leaders that we have in PDP can actually see the party through for them to beat APC at the coming elections?
We're very fortunate to have a national chairman who is a scholar, a world scholar, Dr. Iyachua. You know, he was a lecturer, and he was a member of the socialist movement in those days. We're very, very fortunate. I hope they will not muzzle him out. You know, very, very simple man, very cerebral. I gave him my books 2 weeks ago. We met in Governor Wike's house in Port Harcourt, and I gave him my books. And he was so excited. He said, this is the best thing anybody can give him. Whereas some chairmen would prefer that it's all about money. But the man was so excited, and that touched me. That I'm going to read everything, and I'll tell you what I read in it. I gave him 3 of my books, you know. And I love his humility, I love his simplicity. He's a respected and respectable man. So that will help our party. He will be able to talk to anybody. And he already told the governor, said, don't present candidates because he's your friend or you like him. Let's present popular candidates. So my duty, if I want to run now, is to prove to them how popular, because this thing is a popularity contest. So that's my job in the next couple of weeks. This part of it, you started it, is to go out there and let people know that stop fielding local champions when you have global champions. And the message is to our youth. You complain and complain and complain. Act. Let's stop lamenting like the biblical Jeremiah. Act. Let us go out there and face these people. Our wall of Jericho must collapse next year. Yeah. I've never been this fired up. Trust me. I'm so excited that I'm doing something for my country. You know, whosoever is not ready, I can afford to live anywhere in the world. I have the ability to live anywhere in the world, but I plan to live nowhere except Nigeria. This is my country. I'm too legit to quit.
There's one particular governor that a lot of people misunderstand, and that's Governor Wike. I don't know what's your perspective of him and why is he always being misunderstood?
Well, sometimes it's difficult to understand people from the distance. But I was very fortunate to meet him. It's funny how we met. I had interviewed Mazi Nnamdi Kanu last year, or it's even a year before now, during the COVID, yeah. It was in 2020. And there was a controversy between both of them. And after I spoke to Nnamdi, I decided to call Governor Wike for his own side because Nnamdi was attacking him. And so when I did, he was very confident. That's the first thing I noticed. Very, very confident. People were saying he's doing nothing. They are killing people in Igbo in the state. And I said, and he invited me, he said I should come. And I went to Igbo. He didn't send any government people maybe to manipulate me. And he was so confident. He said, go there on your own. If I did live broadcast on the streets of Igbo, some people abused me. It's a lie. He has bought you. He has, you know, the typical Nigerian stuff. I didn't mind. The roads that were not good, I came back, I wrote about it. He didn't mind. Today, they are fixing those roads. Then, he challenged us to go and scrutinize his project. publisher, I won't lie to you. You will not believe that man is a Nigerian. In fact, the question we're asking is, where is Wike getting money from? Julius Bajaj, the best contractors everywhere, world-class projects. And he's not limiting it to just the city of Port Harcourt. He's going everywhere. Opobo, they haven't had a road into Opobo in maybe 150 years or thereabouts. Now you have a motorway to Opobo. Hospitals, schools, cassava projects. I'm very impressed by him. And I'm happy that Ovation has helped in his rebranding, because he even told me, he said people are calling him from everywhere that they are seeing it. You see, because if you put your project on television, we are here now. If they are showing anything, we have missed it. Whereas when we finish, whatever is on my phone, we will see it. So we're working with him from our social media platforms, and it seems to be yielding results.
What sort of a person is he?
He's a very bold and fearless character. And I think that is why people are afraid of him. Very, very bold. And very outspoken. He's not afraid to say his mind. And in Nigeria, politicians are used to coloring everything, call black, white, black. Wike won't do that. If he was doing that, nobody would say it's difficult, it's this, it's that.
At 62, what has changed?
Nothing. I'm still the same. I thank God. You see, because what usually changes as you get older is your health. And I can tell you, God has been extremely kind to me. I've never slept 24 hours in any hospital. I just came back from England yesterday, where I went to get my booster shot last week for COVID. And people say, oh, they react. This is where I got it. I never felt any pain, nothing. All the 3, I've taken 3 shots so far, nothing. So, for me, as long as my health holds out, I want to use it to the benefit of my country and to the glory of God.